Planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talking Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calagione. It's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you're listening, whenever you're watching, I hope you're doing A-OK. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy right now while you're watching or listening to this show. Just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com. and click on the book. That's for a signed copy. If you don't care about a signed copy, hey, just go to BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. And by the way, the holidays are upon us. If you're looking to get a couple of copies or more, drop me an email directly, and I'll hook you up with a good deal. Billy at Talkin' Boxing. TalkinBoxing.com. Coming up a little bit later, we got Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard scheduled to join us. And speaking of Hall of Fame, the 2018 Boxing Hall of Fame inductees were announced. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I got some other news. I got an update on the World Boxing Super Series I'd like to talk about. Also, the fraud over in England, David Haye. We'll give you an update on him. And big fight this weekend. Today's topic to kick off the show. This weekend, this fight that we've been talking about puts two pound-for-pound fighters against each other, which is something that we're always looking to do. We're always looking to see these big fights. This BS about letting a fight marinate and this and that. Is such a crock of baloney because anytime there's a huge fight and everybody wants to see it, another fight will develop after that one. So there's no reason to put big fights aside for years and years, and then all of a sudden you get it, and it's anticlimactic. Well, this weekend, Vasyl Lomachenko is putting his world junior lightweight or super featherweight, however you want to look at it, title on the line against arguably another top fighter in Guillermo Rigondeaux. The thing is, Rigondeaux is much smaller. I mean, he's currently the WBA and IBO World Super Bantamweight champion. He's basically moving up not one but two weight classes to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. Today's first question of the day: will this fight live up to the expectations? Joining me right now from St. Simon's Island is my man Sal Rocky Senecola, and you got the sound echoing there, Sal, so you're going to have to stop that. Or actually, it just went away. So listen, Sal, I wanted to know, magical touch, you got the magic, you got the magic touch. My question to you is, do you think the Lomachenko-Rigondeaux fight will live up to the hype?
Yes, I think it will, Bill. Good morning. It's going to be a great fight. I do see Lomachenko winning. It's going to be a very good fight, though. You're going to see a chess match. You're going to see some great exchanges. You're going to see each fighter trying to get inside, moving. It's going to be a tactical fight. It's going to be heavy exchanges. You're going to see guys meeting and ebb and flow of a fight. But ultimately, I think Lomachenko will come out the victor.
Right, but I mean, my question is, do you think it's going to live up to the hype?
I think it's going to be a good fight. I think it will be a very good fight. I think we're going to see some really climatic rounds, and as I was explaining, an ebb and flow. You're going to see each fighter having an opportunity to land in some good shots, and I think it will be a good fight. These are two fighters that aren't afraid to exchange punches. They are defensively sound. They're also great in their positioning of getting in and exchanging blows and trying to hit and not be hit. I think it'll be a very entertaining fight, a very climatic fight, and I do think it'll live up to the hype.
You know, one of the things that we've been hearing Vasyl Lomachenko's name, and by the way, we're going to be breaking down and giving you our official predictions on this fight later in the week. As you had heard, we will not be doing a live show tomorrow due to our holiday schedule, which, yes, it is upon us. But Vasyl Lomachenko is a fighter that, as far as super featherweight or junior lightweight, however you want to look at it, he's ranked number 1 in the world by the computer, and many people think pound for pound he's one of the best fighters. As a pro, he's only got 10 professional fights, 9-1 with 7 knockouts. He did contest for a world title in only his second pro fight and lost a very close split decision against Orlando Salido. He does have some major wins: Gary Russell Jr., Roman Martinez, Jason Socha, Miguel Mariaga in his last fight. And, one of these fights that, we thought was going to be a really, as Sal likes to put it all the time, ebb and flow type fight against Nicholas Walters. Well, we also saw Nicholas Walters quit. A lot of people put Lomachenko up on the top, and they had him fighting these dream fights against bigger guys, et cetera, et cetera. And lo and behold, Rigondeaux pops up, a guy that is avoided because of his talent in terms of boxing talent. He doesn't make for exciting fights. And everybody's calling for the Rigondeaux-Lomachenko fight before it was made. And when you look at it, Sal, Rigondeaux is being forced to move up not 1 but 2 weight classes to fight Lomachenko. Now, I know these guys are smaller, and a lot of times people don't feel that these weight classes are that far apart. But still, you're looking at, 8 pounds more, at least for the weigh-in, that Rigondeaux is going to have to put on. A guy that's known for his agility and boxing ability in terms of just the definition of sweet science. Is this going to hurt him? I mean, even though he's regarded as one of the best in his weight class, moving up 2 weight classes to fight a guy, and by the way, much younger than him. Rigondeaux's 37 and Lomachenko's 29. I mean, what impact is that going to make on this fight?
Bill, I'm a firm believer. A fighter's got to know where he is at his best and the weight that he is fighting at. I mean, a few times I fought as a welterweight, junior welterweight, but my best weight fighting was between 135 and 138 pounds. And if I was fighting a welterweight fight, I wanted to go in that ring at about 138 pounds. It didn't matter. I was going to be at my best. And to me, the 8 pounds, 10 pounds, it wasn't. I gave way more than 10 pounds in several of my fights at times. It didn't matter. I think Rigondeaux, he's got the frame where you're talking about 8 pounds, yeah, 2 weight classes, yeah. I don't think that's going to be too much of a situation. Because he's got a hell of a fight ahead of him. I mean, Lomachenko is no easy task at any weight. So I don't think the weight is going to be an issue. I think he will be at his best, Rigondeaux, no matter what weight he comes in. He knows he's a professional. He knows where he feels most comfortable at. And if it is even a little heavier, maybe he's tearing himself apart to make the weight class he's in now. So maybe a few extra pounds on him will make him at a comfortable weight where he could be at his best and have the most endurance and deliver a decent punch. I don't know. I'm not him. But what I would say is I don't think the weight is going to be that much of an issue when you're talking about 8 pounds.
It's a lot of weight, though, Sal. And here's a guy that has never fought. Since he turned pro, he's been fighting in the super bantamweight division, and assuming that he's 37 years old, a lot of times we'll look at a young fighter and say, well, he's young, his body hasn't filled out 100% yet, et cetera, et cetera. And here we got a guy 37 years old. You got to assume, his body has filled out, and he's been consistently making the super bantamweight division. And he fought as soon as June of this year against Moises Flores, in which that fight was stopped because of it was a no contest because of a cut that had taken place. And prior to that, he hadn't fought for a year before that. I don't know. I mean, when you're going up against a guy like Lomachenko, you're giving up age, you're giving up some height, although Rigondeaux's reach is longer. You're giving up height and size and age. I don't know. I think if Rigondeaux wins this fight, more kudos to him. I don't know. I think I disagree. Very rarely do I disagree with you, but I think the weight is going to make a difference. I mean, considering these guys weigh the day before, so let's assume, he's going to hydrate up anyway. In a normal fight in his normal division, if we want to call it normal, super bantamweight, he rehydrates on fight night. So let's say that's a comfortable weight, and that falls to be, at the junior lightweight limit, which is the fight. All of a sudden, Lomachenko's going to be coming in with a substantial weight advantage, and they're both southpaws too. I mean, it brings a lot of questions in this fight, Sal.
I admit it does bring some questions. I feel, and for whatever reason, for whatever variables might be in this fight that we have to consider, I think it's going to be an entertaining fight, and I think that Lomachenko is going to come out ahead. But I don't think Rigondeaux is going to hurt himself by moving up a weight class or two, and I because of those incremental weight classes being so close. With the pounds, we're talking about 4, 5, 6 pounds. Fighters can adapt to that, and I'm sure this isn't the first time that he has trained, fought, or maybe the first time he's going to fight at that heavier weight. But he's walked around, he's moved around, and I don't think he would be doing something for the first time if it was completely a new feeling and a new thing for him. I'm sure he's either trained at this weight, I'm sure he's either feeling comfortable at this weight, because why did he have to take the fight 2 weight classes up? Maybe he is mature. Maybe he is trying to see how he can move, how his body reacts in a heavier weight class. And, those are things that we're going to find out this Saturday night.
Yeah, but Sal, here's a guy in Rigondeaux who nobody wants to fight this guy for various reasons. Number one,
true,
he's good. I mean,
yes, he is.
Let's put. I mean, we could spin it any other way. This is a good fighter. It's a great fighter.
Good fighter.
A well-decorated amateur, and it's transcended into the pros. So right off the bat, he has a hard time finding dance partners. For his whole pro career, he's fought at this same weight class. 37 years old, moving up to fight a young gun. I don't know. I think on fight night, you're right. We'll see how he took the weight. But, a guy that has been fighting as long as Rigondeaux at a specific weight. Now, remember, these Cuban fighters, they're at least when they were in Cuba, they're very disciplined. I mean, he's still disciplined, but we have seen some other Cuban fighters come on over here, and their discipline goes out the window. But Rigondeaux is a disciplined fighter. He's a talented fighter. I don't know. I think that the issue here is going to be the size difference. I really do. And I think that Rigondeaux is going to have no problem making weight. I think he's going to feel comfortable, just like all those points you made. But it still is the first time. Here's a guy that we are used to seeing with, fluid movement. He's hard to hit when you're standing right in front of him. His body is like a slinky. His waist is right there, and you still can't hit him. When I talk about sweet science, this is a guy that is the sweet science, because the true definition of sweet science is hit and not get hit, but still be in position to inflict damage on your opponent. This whole facade that has been crammed down everybody's throat for the last decade about the sweet science, hit, not get hit, and you throw a punch and you kind of dance away, and now your opponent can't touch you, but you're not able to touch your opponent either. That's not the sweet science, trust me. And Rigondeaux does display the sweet science, as does Lomachenko. So if they're both, in their A game, so to speak, in terms of, sweet science, and they both are fluid movement type fighters, both are good counter punchers, both can attack when they want to. Lomachenko more than Rigondeaux has displayed. Both fighters are southpaws, and one is, almost 7 years younger and 2 weight classes bigger. My money's going on Lomachenko for that reason. I don't know if I would say the same thing if they were the exact same size and same age. I think this is just a case of a big name in Rigondeaux fighting a big name in Lomachenko, but all of the, pros are on Lomachenko's side. I think Rigondeaux is running out of opportunities. This was probably the best financial move for him. And I think if he can pull it off, a victory, which I'm not predicting, if he can, I think there's going to be a whole new light shed on Guillermo Rigondeaux.
I think you just worded it perfectly, Bill. There's nothing really to build on that. I mean, I think he will look great in the fight. I think he's going to come up short for several reasons. Some that you mentioned, some other ones that I do think he's got a good shot, though, and he will look good. I mean, to say that this is going to be the first time, I am sure that he has been in a gym 8 to 10 pounds heavier than what he fights at, to train, to move. So when you say it's new to him, yeah, it's going to be new on a professional format and on a world stage, but I'm sure that he has done this. He's sparred, he's moved, he's run, he's used this weight as his walking around weight many times, and maybe this is the time he feels like, hey, you know what? I'm at my best at my natural weight. It's 8 pounds heavier than what I tear myself down to get, so I'm going to try this. So we're going to have to see. That's it. I think that he's got a good shot. If Lomachenko gets cocky and starts doing his thing here, and Rigondeaux can take advantage of it, he's gonna do it. He's a veteran. He's definitely the kind of fighter as it's almost like a mirror. They're going to be fighting each other, and they have the talents and possess similar skills that I think is going to make a very, very entertaining bout.
I think it's going to be entertaining. I think it will live up to the hype. And you make a point about Lomachenko if he starts fooling around and stuff. See, Rigondeaux's not going to bite on that. Rigondeaux's too disciplined. It's going to be interesting to see who forces who to fight the fight they want. In other words, Rigondeaux basically is a guy that controls what goes on inside the squared circle. And this is why some of his fights are not exactly exciting. Lomachenko has a tendency to create excitement in the ring when he has a willing dance partner. I'm not so sure Rigondeaux will do that. Now, as far as Lomachenko goes, I don't get me wrong. I love Lomachenko, and I like Rigondeaux too. I just think that in today's world of boxing, the one pet peeve, I have many pet peeves in the sport, but there's the one that haunts me the most is that there's always a tipping of the scales, and I know we're talking about weight, but that's not the scales I'm talking about. There's always a tipping of the scale in a sense where one fighter has got the odds stacked in his favor, and in this case, it's Lomachenko. Now, the promoter of this fight is Top Rank. It is going to be on ESPN, which is great. And Rigondeaux, believe it or not, is still being promoted by Rock Nation. They're co-promoters of this, which, we were talking about that promotional company the other day. But, all the concessions seem to be in Lomachenko's favor. Now, FYI, there is a rehydration clause of some kind in this fight. So Lomachenko's not going to be able to rehydrate and come in 20 pounds heavier. So, I mean, I guess that is a pro in one sense. But the other thing that I'm curious to see is how they go against each other, considering they are both southpaws. Generally, when you see a southpaw fighter, you're always wondering, how they're going to fight when they're fighting an orthodox fighter. But the truth of the matter is most southpaw fighters have a lot of experience against orthodox fighters because that's generally who they fight. It's the other way around that's rare when you see two southpaws fight. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
It's a good point, but as I said, these guys are seasoned pros. They've had how many amateur fights before? And I am sure that they've been sparring with fighters that can go back from orthodox to southpaw. I'm sure. Don't be surprised if each of them are going to try and do that to throw off the other. So I think that they'll dance the way they can, and it's not going to be that difficult. Like I said, if they were inexperienced, if they didn't have the kind of resume on their records, then I'd have a question. But these guys are experienced; they know what they're doing, and it's gonna look like they're just natural dance partners.
I agree. I think that it's going to be a very entertaining fight, contrary to what some people believe because of Rigondeaux, and I do think it will live up to expectations. My concern, like I've been pointing out for the last 10 minutes, is the weight and age and all of that. It reminds me of my favorite short story, A Piece of Steak, written by Jack London, and it was all about youth versus age, and youth always prevails. We are going to take a short break. When I come back, the 2018 International Boxing Hall of Fame inductees. Some I like, one I don't. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system break down, bust your budget, or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for people who had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of a faulty hip implant, or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in the blood, known as metallosis. You may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you have been diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood or have required more surgery because of hip implant failure, call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by. This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now. or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. We're talking about, well, just before we went to break, we were talking about the big fight this weekend between Rigondeaux and Lomachenko. It's going to be on ESPN. Definitely a good fight to watch. I think it will live up to the expectations of the Sal. So make sure you tune into that one. We'll be talking more about that and breaking it down later in the week. But the International Boxing Hall of Fame made their official announcement yesterday for the 2018 inductees. And although the modern category includes 3 fighters I have zero problem with, Vitaly Klitschko, the 4-division world champion Eric Morales, who didn't love watching Eric Morales, and Winky Wright, which I think was a good choice. I mean, he was an underrated fighter, and I think the committee got it right by putting him in there. Now, the non-participant and observers that were inducted, Klaus Peter Kohl, which is a German promoter, Steve Albert, who was a broadcaster who I can't recall the last time he did a fight, but the guy that I'm most sick over that they inducted into the Hall of Fame is Jim Gray. Now, Jim Gray, to me, is a pompous idiot, and I can't stand his interviews that he does with Showtime. Why don't you beat a drum on that end there, Sal?
Did you hear that?
Did I hear it? So did everyone else. But Jim Gray has no business being in the Hall of Fame. This is a guy. I really wonder how these people get inducted in the Hall of Fame. No problem with a promoter. No problem with Klitschko and Morales and Winky Wright. But Jim Gray, for doing those stupid interviews once in a while, I mean, he's never done anything other than that. I'm sick over that. And I'll tell you another thing. Ricky Hatton was on the ballot, didn't get in. He's a Hall of Famer. Darius Michalczewski, he was on there. Nigel Benn, he didn't get in. Donald Curry's been on for a few years. I'm shocked that he's not in. And the reason why I say this is because Donald Curry, when he busted onto the scene, he took it by storm. I mean, this was a guy that just, took the division by storm. And just as quickly as he took it, he lost it. But that's the nature of the beast. Donald Curry wasn't just winning fights. He was blowing people away. I think he's a Hall of Famer. But the guy that I feel should have gotten in this time, right out of the gate, was Ivan Calderon. To leave him off and put Jim Gray in, I'm sick. What's your thoughts on at least the 3 fighters, Vitaly Klitschko, Eric Morales, and Winky Wright, Sal?
I think that's a good pool right there. I think that's very valid. I have no problems with that. How's my buddy Vinny Pazienza? When's he going to be eligible?
I don't know. You think Vinny Pazienza is a Hall of Famer?
I don't know. I mean, he's done a lot. I mean, I think he's going to scratch the surface in a couple of years.
I don't know.
I mean, he's done a lot. We'll see. He's got a good story.
It's a great story.
I'm just looking at the pool. I mean, is the pool getting shallow on some levels in some areas? I don't know. I think they got a lot of people yet to do. I like the 3 nominees that they mentioned. I think they're all good and valid and worthy.
Yeah, I mean.
I'm telling you. But then when you say Vinny Pazienza, I know what you're talking about.
Vinny Pazienza, maybe he accomplished a lot. Hall of Fame, I don't know. You see, that's the problem with the Hall of Fames. I mean, And no disrespect. Hey, listen, I felt Boom Boom Mancini belonged, and a lot of people didn't. You know, a lot of people didn't think that Arturo Gatti belonged. I thought he did. You know, there's in my opinion, to make the Hall of Fame, in my opinion, not only do you have to be, and this goes for any sports Hall of Fame, not only do you have to be exceptional at the sport, and in this case boxing, but you had to have brought something to the sport in a positive fashion that changed the sport or helped the sport, grow. And that's why I felt that both Arturo Gatti and Boom Boom Mancini deserved to get in, especially Arturo Gatti. I mean, this was a guy that people talk about. I mean, if you mention Arturo Gatti, anybody that saw him fight, well, oh my God, he's a warrior. Same thing with Jake LaMotta, and I guess for that line of thinking, you could mention the same thing about Vinny Pazienza. But just looking at the fighters from this Hall of Fame, Winky Wright, great defensive fighter, former champion, of course. All these guys were. Vitaly Klitschko, dominating champion, and Eric Morales. I mean, talk about a guy that was in wars. I just can't accept Jim Gray. I'll forever see him in the light of what he did to Pete Rose, and I can't respect him. I think he's awful, like the whole rest of the Showtime group, except for Al Bernstein and Paulie Malignaggi.
Well put.
So that's my thoughts on the Hall of Fame. I mean, I don't know, but
anyway. I think we should plan a trip and do a show like we used to, right outside either Graziano's or something. I think we should do a reunion trip and get some of our celebrities up there, and get some that are probably going to be up there invited anyway, and swing by our table. And I think we should plan a nice weekend to be up there and attend this year, maybe. What do you think?
I don't know. Jim Gray's going to be there. I want to punch him
we
in
can
his
say
face.
hi, shake his hand.
Yeah,
congratulations.
The World Boxing Super Series announced the date and location for the semifinals between Murat Gassiev and who's the IBF World Cruiserweight Champion against the WBA World Cruiserweight Champion Yunier Dorticos. It's going to be taking place in Russia, February 3rd. I love this fight. I love this tournament, and I love this fight. Gassiev says Dorticos is a very good and dangerous fighter. It's going to be great to test my skills against an opponent like him. I'm confident we will deliver a great boxing show for the fans around the world. Dorticos says, I believe I'm the best in the world and a future winner of the Muhammad Ali Trophy. I can't wait to show Gassiev and the fans in Russia all over the world what the KO doctor is all about. Like I've maintained from the beginning, Sal, these guys are all challenging themselves to be put in the ring against challenges. And I applaud them. They're all bringing something that they're risking with a belt. And, it's a shame, and quite honestly embarrassing that the U.S. fighters failed to do this. And I think it's a reflection on the U.S. I mean, think about it. The U.S. has become, you don't want to offend anybody. Don't want to take any chances. Lazy is a great word. And now we have to have these other fighters from other countries showing that they have the you-know-whats to step in the ring, and they want to do it the old-fashioned way. They want to prove they're the best by fighting the best. The titles are secondary. All the risks, rewards, all of that stuff, all they care about is to prove they're the best. And here, for this semifinal bout in the cruiserweight division, I'm loving what I'm hearing from these guys. I can't wait. What's your thoughts?
Well, you said it right there. You know what? It's embarrassing that there were really no USA fighters coming into this tournament or volunteering to enter the tournament. And it says a lot when you see these guys from the European bloc country and everything else that want to get involved, want to prove that they're the best, want to fight the best, want to be challenged. I mean, it says a lot. It says a lot about their character. It says a lot about their confidence. And it says a lot about what they're looking to pull and rise to the occasion to get from themselves. And I love that. That's what fighting's all about, challenging yourself and rising to the occasion and proving you're the best and proving you're a better one, you're better than your opponent. And, you know, as we know, the song and dance and sidesteps all occur with a lot of our maneuvering and in and outs and promoting and matchmaking with the United States fighters. That's the way it is.
Speaking
of late.
Speaking of promoting and maneuvering and all the other things,
like that,
David the Fraud Hay looking for a rematch with Tony Bellew. As you recall, he gave us a very long, winded explanation of how he injured his bicep as he was walking the stairs and grabbed the banister. And I mean, it seems like the length of his excuse was a little bit longer than the War and Peace saga. But the truth of the matter is they have rescheduled the fight. It's going to be now taking place December 17th. I'm sorry, it was originally supposed to be taking place on December 17th. It's now going to be taking place May 5th. It just seems pretty strange to me. The guy injures himself, and then 6 months later, we'll do it. So anyway, not that many people give a rat's ass about David Hay, at least on this side of the pond. I know they still love him over on the other side. I'm not sure why, but in case you were wondering, the Tony Bellew David Hay rematch set for May 5th. Cinco de Mayo? Isn't there a big fight happening between Triple G and Canelo on that day? Another.
There's only one fight I want to watch.
Exactly. I mean, why would you want to compete with them? But in any event, that's what it is. Hey, Sal, we're going to kick you to the curb for a little bit. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're scheduled to have my man Larry Hazard join us. So we'll get back to Sal in a little bit, but for now, I'm going to take a short break. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.kofantasyboxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.kofantasyboxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.kofantasyboxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C Show. Glad you could be with us. And with us right now, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, my man Larry Hazard. Good morning, Larry.
Hey, what's up, Billy? What's happening, baby?
Same old, man. Same old. Me, I'm getting old. That's the same old. But anyway, last weekend, Miguel Cotto fought what he's calling his last fight. And I personally didn't give Saddam Ali much of a chance. And the way I saw that fight was pretty much how the judges saw it. I think they finally got it right. It reminded me of the typical, the youth versus age. I thought Saddam Ali fought the right fight. And, no problems from me on either side. I think Cotto proved he's what he is. This is a guy that has seeked out the best challenges throughout his career. He could have taken an easier fight to say goodbye. I mean, many of us thought it was fairly easy, but as we learned, it was not. He did fight a young gun, even though he was moving up in weight. What was your thoughts on the fight, the performance, and of both fighters? And Cotto, I know it's not fair to look at his whole career right now. I like to let them sit for a few years before we break them down and look at them. But initially, what's your thoughts on Miguel Cotto's career? Did the fight have anything to do with your thoughts on his overall career?
Well, first off, there's no doubt in my mind that we're talking about a future Hall of Famer. Miguel Cotto has had a stellar career. If you look at the fighters who he fought, and not just fought when these fighters were old. He fought these guys when they were in their primes. Some he fought even more than once. And he was able to always bounce back and remain among the elite of the fighters of his era. So, without a doubt, I think that we're talking about a future first-round Hall of Famer in Miguel Cotto. As far as this fight with Saddam Ali, as you said, Billy, he could have picked an easier opponent. I'm not that extremely high on Saddam Ali, but I think he is a good fighter. Personally, I don't think he's going to hold that title, that 154-pound title. I don't think he's going to hold it for a long time. But he put in a good effort and a well-justified win against Miguel. I think that Ali has to focus a bit more on, being able to follow up on some of the situations where he actually had Cotto in trouble 2 or 3 times, and it seems like he chose to stand back and admire his work instead of finishing him off. All of the great fighters, when they got you in trouble, they didn't let you off the hook. So I think that he comes up short in that category. And I think that, he's going to have to learn to be able to take those chances when he gets a fighter hurt. I listened to him say, something about he didn't want to chance getting caught or get hit or whatever. Well, that's not the attitude that goes into becoming a great fighter. But I thought it was a very entertaining fight. Not a great fight, but a good fight. And I thought that Cotto he has picked the right time to retire. He seems to be financially set. He has his own promotional entity that he's developing. So I think this is a good time for him to hang him up and, go on to bigger and better things. But I thought it was a good fight. I thought he has put in a good performance. He didn't make up any excuses as to why he lost, although, he suffered the injury, but he didn't use that as an excuse. So, I applaud the performance. I thought it was a good fight, and I think that Cotto is making the right decision in retiring at this time.
I agree with you about Miguel Cotto. Clearly, first ballot Hall of Famer. And you know what I like about Miguel Cotto? First of all, I can't recall a fight that he was in that wasn't exciting, whether he won or lost or whatever. I mean, and to me, that's worth a lot. And the other part of that, Larry, is this. When you look at Miguel Cotto, and I don't care if you look at the Miguel Cotto from last weekend or you look at a prime Miguel Cotto, let's be honest. This guy didn't possess any super-duper skill. I mean, he was just an aggressive fighter who came forward, who knew how to land a nice left hook to the body and was tough. He able to pull his ass up off the canvas. He's proven time and time again that not only does he have heart, but determination and will, and he comes from behind. I mean, this is a I mean, listen, we can use that term for a lot of fighters, but is there another fighter that comes to mind when you think of throwback fighters than Miguel Cotto? I mean, at least, from this day and age?
Not really. I mean, there were I often think of the old Philadelphia fighters, the way they came. You had a whole slew of guys from yesteryear who weren't great fighters. Some never even became world champions, but they kind of remind you of the Miguel Cotto type. You knew that whenever they went in, anything could happen. There was never a dull moment. They always gave 100%. And I think the major element that most, if not all, of these fighters possess was that they saw themselves as fighters, as professionals. They were well conditioned. They welcomed the challenges, and you had to bring it to get it when you fought these guys. And I remember the 1980s and 90s and the 70s, 80s and 90s. All of those great fighters that came out of Philadelphia. Miguel Cotto could easily be thrown in with all of those guys with his attitude and his approach to his profession. And I agree. Miguel Cotto never, if you look at, there's nothing that you can specifically say that was that outstanding about him. But he brought a lot of certain elements together that translated into him being an outstanding fighter. I don't know if we want to call him a great fighter. I don't know where the bar is. Everybody has a different bar for measuring greatness. But he certainly has all of the elements of the outstanding, the elite fighters, and there's never a dull moment when he fought. And anybody who ever took him lightly ended up on the short end of the contest. So, my hat is off to Miguel Cotto. He's an outstanding fighter, and as I said, certainly a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer.
I love your analogy with the Philly fighters and Miguel Cotto. Because the Philly fighters, years ago, boxing was a trade, and when you got into it, the progression was you were an amateur, then you became a pro, and when your pro career was over, you stayed in the sport. You were a trainer, you owned a gym, you were a promoter, and it was a trade. It was your business you got into, and we don't see that much anymore today. And the Philly fighters seem to be taught that in the gym. To prove you're the best, you fight the best. I mean, you hear stories and have seen it if people have visited the gyms. There's better fights in the sparring sessions in Philly than there are in fights that we watch on the cable networks these days. So one thing I wanted to add about Saddam Ali, I agree with you about him being short-lived in this weight class, and the reason is when you look at the 154-pound weight class, there's some monsters in there right now, which I can't even believe make the weight. In Charlo and Hurd, those two guys come to my mind right now. They look like light heavyweights or cruiserweights when they're in the ring. So, and Saddam Ali, although he looked big against Cotto's not a big guy. He's not even really a junior middleweight. So I agree with you there. And one last thing I want to ask you about Saddam Ali and the comment you made about him taking his foot off the gas pedal when he had Miguel Cotto hurt. I was talking about this the other day, Larry, and, I truly believe it. And I say this about, when Floyd fights guys and when he used to fight guys and they win the lotto to fight Floyd. And I look at it that way because they just landed a fight that is life-changing in terms of money. And, I just think it's human nature that it's hard to beat the snot out of a guy that just, changed your life. I mean, old-time fighters would say, hey, all of that respect goes out the window when the bell rings. I'm not sure it does with today's fighter. And my question is, did Saddam Ali take his foot off the gas because of A, he didn't realize he had Cotto in trouble like some people were suggesting, or B, that he had too much respect for Cotto inside the ring until the latter part of the fight?
Well, I take him at his word. What he said, I believe what he said. Okay, and that's why I said that he needs an attitude makeover if he wishes to ever reach that pendulum of greatness. He said himself that he didn't want to take a chance on getting caught or getting hit or something of that nature. And when he said that, I'm like, wow, what kind of attitude is that, for a fighter? All of the great fighters, all of the great fighters that I'm sure you can think of didn't have that attitude. When Marvin Hagler got you on the hook, man, you didn't get off. When Sugar Ray Leonard, when he got you on the hook, that was it. Lights out, game over, and the list goes on and on and on. I mean, Tommy Hearns, when he nailed you, man, and your knees buckle or whatever, it was over. That's game over. These guys never carried that type of attitude. You never saw them stand back and admire their work. That was a part of their work, man. That was a part of the plan. So I can recall 2 or 3 times when he had Cotto on the hook, and I'm like, wow, man, what's with this guy? And right there, I formed an attitude with Saddam Ali. I wasn't that high on him in the beginning, thought he was a decent fighter, but then, that kind of solidified my thinking. This guy, he's not going to be among the great or the elite fighters. And if he wins, he ain't going to hold his title long. I formulated that opinion of him, as the fight wore on. All of those elements that I look for to help me determine where a fighter is going in the future. What kind of future do you think this guy has? Does he need a new trainer, or does he look like he really has the potential to be a great one? I couldn't give him any of those check marks just because of that. And then when he openly admitted that he didn't follow up because he didn't want to take a chance. Well, that's the way I see that, man. I'm not that high on him just because of it. So I take him at his word that's the reason why he didn't follow up. Had nothing to do with respect for Cotto. had nothing to do with gratitude or anything of that nature.
You know, I thought the turning point in the fight for Saddam Ali was when Cotto rocked him. And usually, and I think it was in the 8th or 9th round, I can't remember, but usually when a fighter, I mean, how many times have we seen it? A fighter lands a punch on a guy, we know it hurts him, and the guy shakes his head, nah, it didn't hurt me. And that's usually an indication that says, yeah, that just hurt him, you know. But in this particular case, Cotto lands a shot, and Saddam Ali goes back and basically bumps into the ropes, and he looks at Cotto and shakes his head, yes, you got me there. But from that point on, it looked like Saddam Ali, and maybe what you're saying makes a hell of a lot of sense now that I look at it in this perspective, because from that point on, it seemed like he was willing to take that chance, and I think that's when he won the fight. I think he turned that fight around and won the remainder of the rounds on my scorecard. You know, so did you notice that? I mean, did you see that? Do you know the point I'm talking about?
Well, I think what he saw at one point was that Cotto appeared to acknowledge that, hey, look, you know, I'm just going to coast on in, because I think that's where the injury was most evident with Cotto. Cotto knew that he had hurt the bicep. Okay, I think that it makes me go back to something that, like Mike Tyson used to say, it's almost like an agreement. You know, sometimes fighters fight after so many rounds, there's an agreement, okay? All right, you don't hurt me, I won't hurt you, and we'll just cruise on through this thing. I think that that's kind of like the attitude that Cotto took. And then Saddam Ali, it's kind of like he knew that Cotto had, for lack of a better term, given up. It was toward the end of the fight. And so now he just turned it on a little. But he never really hit the gas pedal and tried to take Cotto out. Because toward the end of the fight, I mean, he just pulled away.
Right.
You know, it was obvious that he was winning the fight. He was going to win, unless, you know, the judges went the other way. So I think that they kind of had like an unspoken agreement toward the end of the fight, and that's the way it is.
One last thing on this fight, and we'll move on. You know, it's really sickening to watch the commentating on the bigger fights these days, because it's so obvious that they're biased. The biggest example of this in that particular fight was the punch that, or let me rephrase that, the swing that Saddam Ali missed Cotto by a mile. Now, I'm not ringside, Larry. I'm not even in the stadium, all right? I'm watching on my couch with a scotch, all right? And I'm sitting here, and I saw that punch. Didn't come close. And what do I hear from the announcer? Oh, what a down goes Saddam Ali. What, he gets rocked. He's down, right? And Max is going, oh, that was just... And Roy, who I am sick of, says, I don't think he landed that punch. And I'm sitting there going, you're right, Roy. I'm screaming at the TV. And it took them until they watched the replay to realize. And then even my man Harold Letterman is still saying, I don't know what they saw, but I saw him knock the punch. I'm saying, man, it wasn't even close. Did you see it like I saw it, or what?
It wasn't. The punch wasn't even close.
It wasn't. Okay. It wasn't close. Wasn't close, right?
It wasn't even close. I mean, you know, when you get to these commentators now, don't get me started on these.
I know.
Okay, because this Kellerman, that guy, I don't know, it's something about him that just irks me with everything that he says. Okay, but just, you know, don't get me started on those guys.
I know. It's hard. I usually listen to it with this. I can't listen to the other guy on Showtime, Ronaldo. I just can't. I mean, he's. I just can't listen to him. But let's move on. International Boxing Hall of Fame announced, and this is actually what a segue. They announced their Hall of Famers: Winky Wright, Eric Morales, Vitaly Klitschko. I have zero problem with any of those guys. They're all deserving. The guy I have a hard to be honest with you, I have a hard time with Jim Gray. How does Jim Gray get in the Hall of Fame? I mean, this guy's a clown, and all he does is do it in between round interviews. And even Steve Albert, no disrespect to him, but when was the last time I saw him call a fight? I mean, he wasn't even calling fights for years and years and years. I mean, he called them for a couple of years, and that was it. I mean, what really, running out of people to put in? And I honestly believe that they missed the boat on Ivan Calderon. That's a guy that deserved to get first ballot. And I don't know why Donald Curry isn't in yet. I believe that Donald Curry is a Hall of Famer. The people disagree with me saying that he just didn't have the significant wins. I felt that he blew into the division, took it by storm, and as quick as he took it, he lost it and was gone. But that's the way boxing is. I mean, I don't know. What's your thoughts on the inductees and who was left out?
Well, I have to agree. I have to agree with you, Billy. Some of the guys I've been wondering. Donald Curry has been on that ballot for quite a while now, and I don't understand why he's not in. But as far as Jim Gray, who's Jim Gray? And Marv Albert, I could understand, but Steve Albert, I was a little nice guy, but why? I'm like you. I'm a little confused. I don't know the process. I don't know the process of how they get in, and so I'm always reluctant to criticize, that situation. But I have to agree, that sometimes these last two induction classes, I wasn't that enthusiastic about. But this one, I'm really not feeling this one. As far as the fighters that went in, I have no problem. But some of the other non-participants, it raises some question marks.
Yeah, it definitely does. Like, what does it take to get in the Hall of Fame? Well, if you slip something in this hand, I can make your name appear on that ballot. So I don't know. I don't like what he's doing up there. But anyway, one other thing I wanted to talk to you about was, and I know you love this World Boxing Super Series as much as I do. They announced the semifinal bout for the cruiserweight division. And two champions, at least belt holders. Let's say belt holders. The IBF cruiserweight champ Murat Gassiev is taking on the WBA cruiserweight champion Yunier Dorticos. It's going to be taking place in Russia in February 3rd to be exact. Both of these guys made comments. They got some quotes from them, and the thing that I like the most about this, Larry, is both of them. And I'm going to paraphrase here. Said, we're glad we're in this fight, and we're looking forward to fight the best, and that's how we're going to prove that we're the best. Basically, they're saying, forget the titles, because they're all going into this game with titles, and none of them have shown any fear of losing their trinket other than proving that they're the best guy in the division. And the reason why I mention this, and it's easy to agree, but the part that hurts, and I got to be honest with you, Larry, it hurts. No American fighters in this tournament. What does that say? I mean, there was that one, but what does that say about the attitude of not only the American fighters, but the powers that be that surround them, their management, their promoters, the television networks, and even the fan base, when we have to watch fighters from other countries willing to go in and prove it the old-fashioned way. I'm the best because I beat all the best guys. Forget the belts, forget the network deals, forget the promoters. I'm proving I'm the best. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it doesn't say very much. It doesn't say very much about the American fighters, American promoters, managers, and everybody involved in American boxing. And it has been something that we've seen developing over the years. If you look at boxing overall, the sport seems to be almost like it's being taken over by the foreign fighters. The superstars of boxing, more and more, seem to be the foreign fighters now. And the American promoters seem as if they've given up on the talent that's here. And I think that a lot of that is resulting from the amateur programs, the Olympic programs, and, the grassroots boxing programs. And unless we begin to put more energies into developing these, our amateur fighters, okay, and bringing them up and developing them, and a whole change of attitude in the boxing industry here in this country, eventually we're not going to see many American superstars, in the upper ranks of boxing. That's my feeling.
Yeah, well, you're right, because they coddle them and protect them so much that they are actually shooting themselves in the foot, because they're not putting these guys in fights that would gather and create a fan base. One last thing, Larry, before we let you go. It's a pretty close that Anthony Joshua is going to be fighting Joseph Parker next, but some of the comments in the press coming from Deontay Wilder and the rest of his team is saying that this is a guy that's saying that he's being ducked and everything else, and it's basically come out now that the issue is the purse split, and that Deontay Wilder is demanding, at least at this stage, a 50-50 purse split to fight Anthony Joshua. In my opinion, I think that that's ridiculous, because Anthony Joshua is the guy in the driver's seat. I mean, this is a guy that can, not have to fight Deontay Wilder, and he draws and makes all this money wherever he goes. Deontay Wilder has yet to make $2 million and really doesn't have a large fan base. Does it justify a 50-50 split in your opinion?
Hey, look, Joshua was the man. And especially if that fight is in Europe, there's no way he's going to give Deontay Wilder 50-50, okay? But I think that that's just a ploy to get as much as they can, okay? And eventually it'll settle for something like a 60-40, okay? Because the fight has to happen, okay? So I think they're just holding out to get as much as they can. But I can't see Wilder warranting a 50-50 split against Joshua. No way.
Well,
it's not going to happen.
Here's the other thing that I was talking about yesterday. Deontay Wilder is really in a win-win situation here, because let's say he accepts a fixed amount, which I think he should. The rumor I had heard at one point, he was offered $7 million plus the U.S. TV rights or whatever. Let's say he takes that. And even if he loses the fight, Larry, as long as he puts up a good showing, this guy becomes a multi-million-dollar fighter every time he steps in the ring after this. He'll be making twice as much of what the maximum he's made already by eating some crow and fighting, for what he might not think is fair, but way more than he's ever made. I mean, this is the part I don't understand, that these so-called advisors or managers or promoters aren't explaining to the fighters from a business sense. From a business sense, you create value in yourself, and even if you lose, as long as you put on a good showing, you just upped your purse value. From here on out, a rematch would garner you more money. Another fight as you climb the ladder would garner you more money. I mean, all of this makes financial sense except the first step. They're being too greedy, which may not even get them to the point. What's your quick thoughts on that?
Well, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Billy. First off, that's an attitude that I think should permeate in all of these major fights. These guys, they get greedy. They get greedy, and they don't realize that a good performance in a first fight will certainly warrant another fight, okay? Get as much as you can the first time out, okay? Put in a great performance, and you're almost guaranteed a rematch in a fight like that, okay? And so, like you say, you put in a good performance, you're guaranteed a multi-fight deal in your next one, and you can walk away and maybe even a third fight if you could put in another good performance. So sometimes it's better to just take a little bit less the first time out, okay, and you cash in the end instead of trying to hit a home run the first time out. Put in a sloppy performance and you lose out altogether. So I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, they need to make that fight, and hopefully we'll get to see that one, middle of next year. But Larry, appreciate your time, my man. Enjoy the fights this weekend. We got Lomachenko against Rigondeaux, and I'll be looking forward to your comments on that next week.
Okay, Billy.
All right, my man. You have a good one.
Okay.
That's Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard giving us his thoughts on Cotto and some other stuff. So, hey, who does it better than Larry? Huh? Nobody. I'm going to take a short break. When I come back, Sal and I are going to talk about some emails. We got our first top fights of the year that we're going to read to you. So from a listener. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And back with us from beautiful St. Simon's Island is my man Sal Rocky Senacola. And Sal, I got some emails to read, but first, get you guys caught up with some other sports. In the NBA, the Raptors beat the Suns 126-113. The Thunder beat the Jazz 100-94, and the Wizards coming back from a pitiful performance. What are you doing, man? You're sitting there playing a musical instrument. What are you, a one-man band over there?
I got a side job. I got an organ and things like that. Forget about it.
The Wizards beat the Trailblazers 106-92. In the NHL, the Devils beat the Blue Jackets 4-1. The Rangers beat the Penguins 4-3. The Blues beat the Canadiens 4-3. The Red Wings beat the Jets 5-1. I'm always saying somebody beat the Jets. The Lightning beat the Islanders 6-2. The Predators beat the Stars 5-2. The Sabres over the Avalanche 4-2. The Canucks shut out the Hurricanes 3-0. The Kings over the Wild 5-2. And the Golden Knights of Las Vegas beat the Ducks 4-3 in a shootout. I got some emails. The first one is from Jesse, and he says, "Hey, Billy C. and Sal. I'm looking forward to the Rigondeaux and Lomachenko fight, but why are we not talking about this fight more? It seems people aren't talking about the fight. It will be a tactical fight by both parties, like a chess match. Both guys will be looking for their spots. Lomachenko will be moving and trying to throw a lot, but Rigo will be trying to counter and pick his shots and his moves." I don't know why this fight has not gotten in the press. I mean, I just don't get it. What do you think?
It's a good point, and he mentioned all the qualities and the things that we could expect from this fight, and that we talked about earlier. And Bill, I hate to say it, but it could be also that there's much more attention given to the heavier weight classes. I mean, it's been since the onset of boxing, unless there's a superstar, and both of these guys are kind of stars in their divisions, and I think they should have been promoted, should have been talked about, and should be celebrated. But if we're a heavier weight class like we do with the heavyweights, the middleweights, the light heavyweights, even the welterweights, maybe we would have had a little bit more press on the air or something else. But that's a good point. No real explanation of why we haven't been talking about it as much.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. This fight, even though some of the points I made earlier in the show about the size difference, it is a fight. I mean, the most intriguing part of this fight for me is going to see how it. I know this sounds stupid, but to see how it turns out. And what I mean by that, Sal, isn't to see who wins. Can the fight be exciting? That's the question. I mean, Rigondeaux is always criticized for lack of excitement, and Lomachenko can go either way. I mean, sometimes his version of excitement is clowning around. So it's going to be interesting to see, just like I said before, and you commented with that that phrase that I remember forever, and it takes a lot and ingenious to come out with that. You said bingo. So when I said the main thing is to see who can make the fight go their way, your comment was bingo. I thought maybe you won. I thought you were maybe at the church and you were playing. You won. You finally won. So I don't know. I say that was good. Bingo. Oh, I got that number. Bingo. But anyway. It was a good point, right?
Mamma mia. You're telling me, Bill. Oh, mamma mia.
That's funny. Anyway.
Bingo.
Yeah, bingo. Hey, what's your comments on that? Bingo. Oh, bingo was his name? Oh, why? But anyway. Jesse goes on to say, I can't fault Cotto for his torn bicep. He did his best and just couldn't use his left. All is very beatable in the 154 division. He should face guys like Julian Williams, Lara, Saliki, Liam Smith, or Nathaniel Gilmore. Those guys beat him. Yeah, but what about the main guys? Like, we were talking about the one Charlo brother who's still in 154 and Hurd. I mean, these are monsters. I don't know if first of all, Cotto's done. He's not going to be fighting. So I'm assuming you're talking about Ali, Jesse. So maybe he fights those guys, but I don't know. He says Ray Vargas drops his hands too much. Vey versus Jesse Magladeno, Iwasa, Marlon Tapalis, Rigo, or Daniel Roman. Ray Vargas is kind of freaky, don't you think, Sal? I mean, a guy that weighs 122 pounds, he was, 8 feet tall, and he didn't look like he didn't look that skinny. I was amazed that he weighed. I'm saying to myself, how can this guy weigh, even if he's dehydrated, how can he weigh 122? I mean, it just doesn't seem, possible. But A guy with a frame like that, the only thing he's lacking really is that one-punch knockout power.
Maybe it has something to do with the 122 pounds in his stature.
I wonder. You know what? I wonder if you're right. I wonder if he put on more weight, if he would gain some knockout power.
Well, it's hard. I'll tell you what, Bill. We have a classic example. I mean, Tommy Hearns could shut the door like an iron gate with his right hand and some of the power he had. And he was a tall, thin fighter. But this guy is exceptionally, for his height and weight at 122, I'm sure he's coming into the ring about 130, maybe a little more, maybe not. I don't know. But I don't know if he's sitting down or turning on his punches. Maybe he's using his height advantage to a degree that he's nullifying his ability to deliver some force behind those punches. I think if he has the right trainer to show him how to execute and turn and sit on some of those right hands and use the trunk of the body to really force a punch, I think maybe he'll have some more success, with the power.
I bet you. I don't know. Like I keep saying, I'm shocked he even could make 122. But I would be shocked if he was less than 140 fight night. And
True.
You make a great point about Tommy Hearns. But the thing about Tommy Hearns is that Tommy Hearns had an upper body that was big. It was from his waist down. He had those skinny little chicken legs. But it just seems that Vargas is more. What's the word I'm looking for? Proportionate. His legs weren't really that skinny. I mean, I don't know. He says Wilder shouldn't ask for so much, and Parker should take 20%. He's lucky he's getting 30% by Joshua. Hearns and them were generous. I don't even know if it was released that he got 30%. I think he got a fixed amount. Unless Jesse knows something I haven't heard. I didn't see it on my wire that the financial agreements were released yet. The fight hasn't even been officially announced. But I don't think anybody is going to get a percentage of Anthony Joshua because of the money this guy can generate, whether he fights a top guy or not. I mean, he is such a big name. It is what it is. It's the same thing as, I don't want to keep bringing him up because I can't stand him, and I'm glad he's out of the business 100%. But it's the same thing with Floyd. It's the same thing with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, you know what? Whether you liked him or not, whether you liked his style or not, whether you liked him anyway or not, at the end of the day, Floyd Mayweather put, pay-per-view buys in the bank. This guy was able to sell. And that's the end of the day, man. That's the main thing. And Anthony Joshua's in the same boat. I'm not suggesting he's in the same boat as Mayweather, but he's in the same boat regarding, who's the guy making the draw. It's certainly not Joseph Parker, and it's certainly not Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder's second home, Brooklyn, New York. You walk down the streets of New York, nobody even knows who he is. So, I mean, come on.
I think Larry made a good point. At least with Deontay Wilder possibly flexing his muscle a little bit and touting his horn because he's willing to sell for less. So go for the moon, go for an even split, and maybe he'll get 60-40. I don't think he should get anything more than that.
Yeah, but my listen, if Anthony Joshua, after all was said and done, reportedly made close to $20 million. All right, after all was said and done, that means after everybody else got their cut, he walks away with close to $20 million fighting Carlos Takam. Why would he want to fight in a purse split? Now, first of all, purse split is gross. That doesn't mean what you walk away with. So if he's getting that much to fight Carlos Takam, why would he give that up? I mean, he could fight. He could go on and be like Deontay Wilder and fight the bums of the month forever and make that kind of money. A guy like Deontay Wilder who's never made $2 million, $10 million is way more than $2. And he creates value in himself. Forget Joseph Parker. The fight and I don't mean to discredit Joseph Parker because for all we know, Joseph Parker can go in there and knock out Anthony Joshua in one round. But the fight that we all want to see is Wilder against AJ. And, you know, if money is going to prevent it from happening, or if they're going to pull the old let's let it marinate, they're doing the sport a disservice, in my opinion, Sal.
I do. I agree with you, and I think that this is the fight that everyone wants to see in the heavyweight division. They could add the fluff, they could add the stuff, but this is the meat of the matter. This is what we want to see. This is what the fans want to see. This is what we need to see sometime in 2018. You know, maybe Deontay Wilder could just say, "Hey, give me $10 million. I don't care what else happens." And, you know, this way he'll feel satisfied. He doesn't know any percentage. Just give me $10 million. That's all I want. Boom. I'll fight anywhere. I'll go in orbit. I'll go on the moon. I don't care where. And we'll do it. Take your $10 million, divide it up, do what you got to do, pay your taxes, take care of your trainer, your training camp, your manager, and you know what? You'll still have money left over to enjoy. More money than you ever made in your entire life. Put together.
Another email. This one's from my man, Coach. He says, "Hey, Billy C., why doesn't boxing drag in hand shot taking, IV user?" Let me start over. It's a tough sentence you got here for me, Coach. Why doesn't boxing drag in hand shot taking, IV using Mayweather for alleging he carried McGregor in his pro debut? Imagine if Tom Brady openly said that they held back scoring, or LeBron James said he skimmed points. There would be fines and all kinds of investigations. Shouldn't Mayweather be investigated, questioned, or there be some kind of inquiry made? Is there any integrity left in boxing? That said, how about Luis Ortiz supposedly just being cleared by the WBC for a failed drug test in which he still is suspended by the WBA, yet he returns this Friday night, where else but on an Al Heyman Premier Boxing Champions card? You know, I totally get where Coach is coming from here, Sal. It is kind of strange that, you know, Mayweather said that, but, you know, not that I want to defend Mayweather. It's been said a lot in the sport of boxing that certain fighters carried others. You know, one that comes to mind, you know, back in the old days, I mean, you know, fighters, Barney Ross fought the windmill, Henry Armstrong. And Henry Armstrong was at the end of his career, and Barney Ross carried him for a while, you know, and admitted it. So, you know, the only problem I have with Mayweather saying this is that it does seem like they make special, you know, things for Floyd. You know, like the IV that Coach mentions. He's allowed to take steroids in his hands, you know, and nobody ever says anything. He rarely gets as much testing done as it seems for his opponents, at least publicized. And for him to say that he carried McGregor, the way I look at it is more of a slap in the face for all the people that shelled out $100 to watch it, you know. So and nothing for nothing, but he probably just ruined any, you know, possibility of a rematch. Not that I want one, but no. And the analogy Coach made with the other sports is 100% true. What's your thoughts?
It's true. I mean, you know, if we looked at isolated incidents, I mean, we could tear it apart and everything else and look at why. I mean, it's the game of boxing. There's these private concessions. There's these things that happen, and there's money under the table. There's a lot of things. Hey, guess what? I never said it. I still have a real hard time seeing that Lomachenko got a world title fight and a second fight out of the gate. I mean, what does that say to everybody else ranked before him and that put the dues in, everything else? I mean, you know, it is what it is. It happened, but you know, it's just one of those things. Like I said, there's private concessions made every day in a game of boxing. It's the world it is.
I asked everyone yesterday to start submitting your top 5, you know, fights of 2017. Sal and I both agree that 2017 was a tremendous year for the sport, and we got our first one. So if you have your list, and you can go more than 5 if you have a top 10, and they don't have to be all the big, huge fights. It could be a fight that you saw in a club show, at a club show. And, you know, just what's your opinion of the top 5 fights of 2017? email me, Billy@talkinboxing, TalkinBoxing.com. We got our first one, and it's from my man Matt Quinn out of Buffalo, New York. He says, hey, Billy C., this is my first time writing in, but I love your show, and thank you and your team for doing daily boxing talk. The sport of kings deserves the attention. Well, we certainly appreciate that, Matt. We've been doing it for a long time, and I love catering to true boxing fans. Sometimes I glance at some of the comments. We have simulcast the show up on YouTube, and the YouTube boxing community is totally different than the real boxing community. There's a lot of people that don't know the sport of boxing, and I love it when I see comments like, Sal and I don't know the sport, or we're amateurs, or we're this or that.
What did you see that, Tommy? You never told me.
Yeah, I know I never told you, but I have. I've been in.
You protected me. You carrying me?
I've been in. Yeah, I'm carrying you. I've been involved. Bingo. I've been involved in this sport over 30 years. 35 now, and I think I know a little about it. But anyway, he says, Matt says, to me, 2017 was a tremendous year for boxing, despite a few black eyes. And in parentheses, it says Triple G won that fight. He says, great matchups, television deals bringing fights back to the masses, and large-scale boxing tournament in the World Boxing Super Series make me tremendously excited to be a fan and look forward to 2018. As my excursion this year, as my final excursion this year, I will attend the Lomachenko-Rigondeaux fight. I hope that fight tops all, a layout below. And please note my bias to fights that I was in attendance to. Number one, he's got Joshua versus Klitschko. A fight like this is why we watch boxing. Undoubtedly the fight of the year, and possibly of the 2010s. Back and forth high-stakes action, the emergence of a global boxing star, and the passing of the heavyweight torch. I watched from Antigua, Guatemala, in a bar room drinking gin. It really gets better than that. I love this guy. I want in Buffalo, New York.
Guy, Bill.
I know, in Buffalo, New York. Matt, come on. Why don't you come and see me at Turning Stone, man? It's halfway between you and me, man. Come on. Anyway, he says, and listen, Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko, great fight. Definitely deservingly of 2017 top fights of the year. I'll tell you guys mine at the end of this year, but I'll give you a hint. It's definitely on there. Great fight. I can't disagree. His number two says Garcia against Broner. The fact Mikey isn't a name brand star yet is mind-boggling. Great story, great fighter, great character, and willing to throw punches. I was also fortunate to attend this fight. Center ring. I thought Garcia boxed beautifully and dominated most rounds against a still dangerous and big-name opponent. A real treat, and I'm excited for Mikey's career to come. Hey, listen, nobody can dispute Mikey Garcia and the quality of a fighter that he really is. I love Mikey Garcia. I question some of his career moves in terms of who he's fighting for the money. It seems a little greedy at this point, but Mikey Garcia, a true, and he's a throwback fighter too. Third fight, he says, Spence Jr. against Kell Brook. It saddens me I couldn't attend this bout, but I will be there January 20th. I've watched Spence's entire career and have known he would be great. Although he gave himself a B, I thought he won in hostile turf and convincingly, leading to a worthy knockout. His work to the body and perseverance after starting slow was phenomenal. A true star and absolutely the truth. I will cheer him the victory and await his bout in January. Not many hit the body as well as the truth. I already forgot about that fight.
I tell you,
I got to be honest. I'm glad Matt brought that up. I mean, Errol Spence, he's on the cusp. I mean, the fight we want to see him against is Thurman, and I'm just wondering if Thurman will man up and fight Errol Spence.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I see Errol Spence being a little. I think Errol Spence will handle Thurman. I really do. He's tough. He's the meat on the bone. This guy. He's good.
The thing is every time you see those two guys kind of together on separate sides of the table, so to speak, it seems that Errol Spence is in Thurman's head already. Thurman Thurman seems very uneasy around Errol Spence. And Errol Spence has got this sadistic look on his face always when he's around him. Like this level of confidence that you rarely see. I mean, the guy that I can, equate it to the best is the look on Evander Holyfield's face when he was walking out to fight Mike Tyson. I mean, no one, including myself, gave Evander Holyfield much chance. And I remember watching that fight saying, man, the look on Evander's face seems like he knows something that's already happened, and he comes out and performs like it. And that's kind of what Errol Spence does to Keith Thurman. His next fight that he has, number 4, Gassiev against Vlad Zarek. He says, prior to this bout, I had seen Gassiev on some smaller TV cards, but I was unfamiliar, along with many U.S. fans, at this budding cruiserweight star. Being at the Prudential Center, I was saddened to see only a few thousand fans trek to see such a great fight as the World Boxing Super Series. Sadly, this shows the state of boxing for foreign fighters without a network push. Only boxing junkies like you, Rocky, and I will scour the earth for such entertainment. I found Gassiev at 24 years old was the type of fighter we all love to see. Trained by Abel Sanchez, should I expect anything less? The wicked body shot and takedown by Gassiev was great to see from only a few rows back. In addition, this bout is leading us to a matchup with Dorticos on February 3rd, which is sure to be interesting and lead to a phenomenal WBSS, World Boxing Super Series final. Another great fight of 2017, Sal, was right in Larry Hazzard's backyard at the Prudential Center in Jersey. I love this tournament. We talked about it before, and another great fight. I mean, now that we're starting to actually go through these top 5 fights of the year, it's really hard to just limit it to 5, isn't it?
I think we can go up to 10. I think like I said, we were fortunate enough. We had a great reboot this year, and I think it's going to generate some more fights for 2018 that are going to be very satisfying to Factory.
Well, we also have a tendency to forget some of the real early ones that took place, like
we do.
Leo Santa Cruz and Carl Frampton rematch. That was in like January, right. And it seems like years ago, and it was this year. And his last fight, you're going to love, but we're going to take a short break before I read it. So don't go anywhere. I'm going to give you the 5th fight that my man Matt Quinn sent us as per my request to send me the top 5 fights, in your opinion, that we've had in 2017. And don't limit it to 5 if you can't. If you got more than 5 you want to mention, lay them on me. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And I'm about to read the fifth of the top 5 fights of 2017 as seen by my man Matt Quinn. Don't forget, email me your top 5, or if you have your top 10. 2017 was a great year for boxing. And my man Matt has sent us his top 5, and they're all very good, especially number 5. Sal, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
I'm literally at the edge of my seat.
Bingo! Well, here it comes. That's your new name. Sal Bingo Senocolo.
Easy.
Matt's fifth fight of 2017 is top 5. Number 5, Lemieux versus Stevens. He says, I was in attendance ringside at the turning. Here he is. He goes to the turning stone. I was in attendance for that fight too, Matt. Why didn't you come by and say hello, man? Jeez, this guy, what is it? Is it, I shower. Anyway, he says, Lemieux versus Stevens. I was in attendance at the turning stone for this fight, which produced one of the best knockouts of the year. Yeah, we all thought he killed Stevens. I was actually next to Stevens' brother, who was yelling, screaming. All of a sudden, Stevens gets put to sleep, and, this guy slipped out the back. But he says, although not a normal high-end HBO bout, I found this was a great match for fans of old-school, slug-it-out boxing. At the time, Lemieux was still coming back from a Triple G beatdown, and he entertained fans with a phenomenal knockout and slugger action. This knockout performance on HBO led to some additional matchups, and finally a WBO title fight on December 16th. Sitting next to rowdy French Canadians was a tremendous time at a great bout. I know Lemieux can be seen as one-dimensional, but at least I can count on him to throw and entertain. Great job, Matt, and I appreciate it big time, and I hope to see you at the fights. A great list. If you have your list, send them to me, Billy at Talkin' Boxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. 2017 is quickly coming to a close, and we had a phenomenal year, and I'd like to hear what you thought were the top 5 fights of this year. So interesting stuff, huh, Sal?
Interesting stuff, and Matt comes from one of my favorite places, Buffalo, New York. We have the most phenomenal chicken wings at my restaurant. We get them from Buffalo, La Nova wings. Go ahead, say.
Like Nova Chevy?
No, it's called La Nova.
Oh.
There's the Wing King up there, and we get the very best, the world's best chicken wings. I promise you, they're phenomenal. You've had them, right?
No, I'm funny about wings, man. I gotta make them myself because first of all, no one can make the wing sauce like mine, and second
what
of all,
kind of sauce?
I make my own. I can't tell you, and not only that, but they gotta be like totally burnt. I don't like seeing what's in those wings. I like to basically with my wing sauce, you could coat a pencil with it, and I'll take and I'll love it. But I like them really crispy and burnt. Most places won't give it to me like that. But there's nothing worse to me than a mushy wing, you know?
Bill, I'm going to take on the wing challenge. When you come down, the next time you come down, and I hope it's going to be in January, I am going to cook you personally some of our chicken wings. And I promise I'm either going to serve them with a chick. I got a beautiful barbecue glaze. No, I got a
hot
bourbon.
Sauce.
I got a bourbon glaze.
All I eat is hot sauce.
Okay, I got hot sauce. I might try slip in one with a bourbon glaze that I do. But other than that, I'm telling you this. I promise you, Bill, promise you, that you will absolutely devour and love our wings. And we get them from Buffalo, New York every week.
Bingo. Bingo.
You're a funny guy.
Our trivia question is stumping people. It's not only stumping people, but apparently it's pissing some people off. I won't mention Coach's name because it's certainly pissing him off. He's submitted a couple of names, and as a matter of fact, he was really pushing with his last email. He had mentioned a guy that he thought it was, and it was very close. And he's going, it's pretty, basically saying it's pretty fishy that this guy's so close, but he did admit that one of the parts of this question his guy did not conform to, which that's why we have the question. That's why we put the wording in the way we do, because it's got to conform with all these things. Here's the question. It's a who am I question. I captured my first world title on my first try. But once I lost the title, it took me almost 12 years and 5 title attempts before I would win another world title. Who am I? Now, if you're the first one to email me the correct answer, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. And speaking of which, normally we do our Blast from the Past today, but my man Alex Papali was under the weather, so we're going to put it off. So next week we will do our Blast from the Past on former world title challenger Henry Cooper, as per request by one of our viewers and listeners. So make sure you don't miss that. But if you email me the correct answer and you're the first one, you'll win a copy of the Title Bout game. One more time. And if you don't want to wait and you want a copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game, just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the Title Bout banner, which you can't miss. I captured my first world title on my first try. But once I lost it, it took almost 12 years and 5 attempts before I would win another world title. Who am I? Everybody, take a guess on that and drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. Good luck to everyone on that question. On this day in boxing history, December 6th, in 1987, Chong Pao Park knocks out Jesus Gallardo in the second round to win the newly created WBA World Super Middleweight title, and that took place in South Korea. On this day in 1997, Yuri Boy Campus knocks out Raul Marquez in the 8th round to win the IBF World Junior Middleweight title. It took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Now, that's the same Raul Marquez that you see on Showtime. He does a great job on Showtime. I like him. I like everybody on Showtime except Ronaldo. This guy should be dragged through the mire and then dropped off somewhere. I'm going to end it there because the last time I said something, I didn't say the right thing. But anyway,
Buffalo, New York's far away.
Yeah, it is. and it's cold, too, up there. On this day in 1997, Keith Mullings knocks out terrible Terry Norris in the 9th round to win the World WBC World Junior Middleweight title, and that took place in Atlantic City, New Jersey. This day in 1975, and this is a guy who you can see up at the Hall of Fame with his beautiful wife every year. John Stracey knocks out Jose Napoles in the 6th round to win the World Welterweight title. It took place in Mexico City in 1975. On this day in 1949, Sandy Sadler wins a 10-round decision over Orlando Zuvleta to win the vacant World Junior Lightweight title. It took place in Cleveland. And finally, on this day, December 6th, in 1897, Jimmy Barry knocks out Walter Crute in the 20th round to win the vacant world flyweight title, and that took place in London on this day in 1897. Boxing's been around a long time, Sal.
It has, and you mentioned Sandy Sadler. I met him at the inaugural indoctrination of the Boxing Hall of Fame, and he was a very tall, lean featherweight, was he not?
He was pretty tall. Yeah, Sandy Sadler. Yeah. He was the one that eventually his career ended because he lost an eye, I think, in a plane accident. Wasn't that him? In a plane
it was
crash
something like that. He had a bad thing with the eye, but he also, I know he and Willie Pep had some great exchanges. No?
Yeah. The other guy, the Bolo Punch fighter.
The Bolo guy.
Aren't you going to name his name? Kid Gavilan.
Yes. Kid Gavilan.
His trunks are right there.
From Cuba.
Right there I have Joe. The white one's a Joe Frazier sign, and right below him, Kid Gavilan sign.
Bingo.
Just FYI. For all those people that don't think we know anything about the sport, Sal. Bingo. wrong thing. Hey, listen. We are off tomorrow, but we'll be back the following day. So make sure you catch up on some shows you may have missed. But just don't forget one thing. Tune in Friday morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.